Yo, what's up? It's your boy. I'm Chris the Dom One, and I am back with another video. LeBron James learned a valuable and an important lesson last night, that seeding is important. All the good work you do throughout the season will pay off at the end of the season. If you're if you're number one in the East, you grab the number one seed, and your opponent is the 8th seed. It makes the road that much easier. It's the reason why so many people compete for the number one seed. Now, remember back in June, LeBron James said, quote, "It really doesn't matter what seed my team lands, the first, the second, the third, fourth, fifth, or even the 8th seed." And it should have mattered in June. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers have been going through a lot of setbacks, okay? Kyrie Irving wanting a trade, giving Kyrie Irving the out of being traded to the Boston Celtics. Their rivals, the team that's on the rise, the team of the future, they traded Kyrie Irving to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and in return, they got Jay Crowder, another player, and a pick that had the potential of being a top 5 pick. They traded all that for Kyrie Irving, as well as throughout the playoffs, struggling to coexist with his new teammates. And yet again, the Cleveland Cavaliers are always, every year, adding something to the roster. Nothing consistent, playing with somebody 4 or 5 years to build better chemistry. They're always coming out of the gate, adding some new talent to the roster. Okay, we can go on and on and on, but I digress. Those players, when you're talking about Derrick Rose, when you're talking about players like that, Dwayne Wade, adding Dwayne Wade in summer camp, not only Jay Crowder from the Kyrie Irving trade, Isaiah Thomas, who didn't have the opportunity to play in the summer or in the first half of the season due to his injuries. But yet again, that's another player that you're going to have to add on the roster when he finally gets somewhat healthy. And of 17 games playing alongside Isaiah Thomas, LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers organization had no choice in their minds and in their eyes was to let's switch this up again. Instead of waiting till the end of the season, let's do it before the trade line is up. And they got rid of Derrick Rose. They got rid of Jay Crowder. They got rid of and Dwayne Wade. And in return, they got a younger cast that's not experienced, but they're athletic and they can stretch the floor. And we all said going in, now more than ever, LeBron James is going to have to do a little bit more. Okay? LeBron James is the only all-star player, superstar talent on his squad. LeBron James knows what Russell Westbrook had to go through last year when it was just Russell Westbrook and the boys. Now it's LeBron James, Kevin Love. You can throw Kevin Love a bone or two, and the rest of the boys. And now they're having a hard time getting out of this first round with the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers, if you compare these teams and you match them up, the Indiana Pacers have more experience. They have better talent, better chemistry, because these players have been playing alongside one another for years. Now, Victor Oladipo, he joined the roster over the summer. But when you talk about the other nucleus, the other cast members, they've been playing with one another for a long period of time. Lance Stevenson, who was traded by several teams last year, finally ended up where he started, which was the Indiana Pacers. And he is flourishing in this system. Once again, the Indiana Pacers did little to their roster, and these players have played with one another. When you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, they are struggling. They're struggling to find their identity. And they're constantly picking on and trying to tweak the roster throughout the season. While other teams in the NBA has pretty much stayed consistent with their rosters and with their players, the Cleveland Cavaliers have been tinkering around a little bit with their roster. And that's why you're having the problem that you're having. And that's why the problem that they're having and the problem that people are seeing what they're having is a direct result of you have to have chemistry. Chemistry means so much when you're talking about professional basketball. It really doesn't matter how talented your team is. Go look at the Portland Trailblazers when they had Scottie Pippen, Rasheed Wallace, Bonzi Wells, so on and so forth. When they had all of that talent on one roster, how many titles did they win? Okay, when you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, they are identical to the Portland Trailblazers last year and the year before. So much talent, but this talent hasn't even been around each other long enough to gel and add chemistry to it. And that's what you're seeing with this crop of players that the Cleveland Cavaliers have. J.R. Smith is a wash. J.R. Smith is the type of player that can, he's sporadic. Sometimes he can sometimes he can hit 5 or 6 threes. And on most nights, he can't even find the ocean trying to shoot a 3. But you knew that going in, okay? You always had J.R. Smith for the past couple of years, all right? When you talk about this new cast, Rodney Hood, I'm about to say Lance Stevenson, Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson, when you're talking about all of these other players, they're not younger. They're still young. They're still trying to find themselves. And they're not consistent on one thing. They're kind of sporadic, similar to J.R. Smith. Now, here's where we separate the two. J.R. Smith is who he is. He's not going to change. This is the type of player you're going to get. He may make them. He may not. But when you talk about these other young brothers, these other young cats, they have room for improvement. And the player that you're seeing right now may not be the same player a year or 2 years down the road. Now, LeBron James, after the game, clearly you can tell he was frustrated at J.R. Smith when J.R. Smith tried to take the last shot when I believe they had like 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds left on the clock. Plenty of time in basketball to at least take it down court. If you don't like what you see, call a timeout. And with maybe 2 or 3 seconds of time available, you can somehow diagram a play to get LeBron James possibly open, or Rodney Hood. Now, chances are the Indiana Pacers would have heavily guarded LeBron James, particularly late in that game when he was shooting threes left to right. Okay, you're going to double him, maybe a triple, maybe set a zone for a triple team on him. That's going to leave the door wide open for a player such as Rodney Hood and maybe J.R. Smith to take the final shot. Okay, you put your best shooters out on the floor. And with 3 seconds left, there's a lot you can do in that time. Okay, now, clearly LeBron James was frustrated. They're down 2-1. And they could have been down 3-1. The Indiana Pacers had a bad night on the loss that they of the L that they took from the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's not that the Cleveland Cavaliers was that much better than the Indiana Pacers. It's just the Indiana Pacers missed a lot of opportunities. Victor Oladipo, his game struggled that night, not because of the awesome, great defense that the Cleveland Cavaliers were presenting, but it's just a simple fact was he just had a bad night. Now, one thing I will agree with LeBron James is after when they did the interviews, the reporters were trying to make LeBron James go against the grain and throw his teammates under the bus like he did last year. If anyone remember the quote LeBron James said last year, we're top heavy. We need more players. Basically just crapping on his teammates. Okay, which by the way, that roster could beat this roster any day of the week. But that's neither here nor there. We'll continue with this video. And they were trying to bait LeBron James. LeBron James is smart enough, intelligent enough to know when he's being baited. And that's where you see the quote in front of your screen. You guys think I'm going to throw my teammates under the bus. I'm not going to do that. I got to be better. The guys have to be better as well. Basically, LeBron James included himself in the loss, where in the past, LeBron James kind of separates himself, saying, well, I got mines. They couldn't get theirs. Basically saying, every time they lose, it's not me, it's them. Okay? And this is why this discussion has gone full circle. If anyone remember the video I made last Saturday, the live stream, who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? Even though LeBron James can improve a team, he can make having LeBron James on your squad makes your squad that much better. But having Michael Jordan on your squad also benefits your team. You know why? Because Michael Jordan had the will to win. Michael Jordan had all the weapons at his disposal to bring his team back from the blink of the blink of destruction. He had the low post game, the middle game, the free throws. Not as athletic than LeBron James, but he still was good enough athletic wise. Better defender, even though LeBron James is a better passer. But the one thing Michael Jordan would have probably struggled on was his three-point game. And when I mean struggle, it's really not a struggle. It's just he didn't consistently use it as much on his three-point game, But when you talk about all the other things at his disposal, he is that much better and better than LeBron James, okay, offensive-wise. And that's what you're going to need if you're going to beat the Indiana Pacers. You're going to need somebody that's going to go in there with an offensive mindset that has the will to win, to break the other team down. No matter what y'all do on the other end of the court, I'm going to still go and dominate the other side of the court. And that's the type of player you're going to need with this roster. And a player like that builds confidence with the other players, because now that player is going to be doubled, possibly tripled, and it's going to leave open shots for the other players. Okay? LeBron James got to quit thinking that he's a facilitator. All right? I know that's in his DNA, but the type of squad that he has really don't need a facilitator. They need someone who is a dominant, unstoppable force. And until LeBron James changes, switch the switch, so to say, and get into that mode, this team is going to struggle. Now, I predicted that, they're still going to beat the Indiana Pacers. Even down 2-1, I still feel like the Cleveland Cavaliers have just enough to beat the Indiana Pacers. But when you're talking about the second round, there's a when you look at these other teams, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics. Just naming those two teams. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to have a hard time with those two teams. And it's going to probably extend it into a 5, 6, or maybe 7-game series. And even if they get past those teams in the East, they still have to worry about the juggernaut in the West, which is the Golden State Warriors. If the Golden State Warriors, beat the Spurs this weekend, and then they set their sights for the second round, and maybe that series is pushed to 5, maybe 6, without Steph Curry, and they get Steph Curry back. Now you got a healthy Steph Curry. Kevin Durant, he may not be as healthy as he can possibly be, but he's still close enough. Kevin Durant is not no athletic type of individual where he runs up and down the court. He picks his spot. So therefore, he doesn't really need a lot of athleticism to get his game going. Then you got Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. If the Cleveland Cavaliers are up against that team, they're going to have problems with that team. I clearly see the Golden State Warriors sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers. If the Houston Rockets dethrone the Golden State Warriors, that's not even a good matchup for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Even though one can say the Houston Rockets really don't have anyone to defend LeBron James, LBJ, but at the same time and at the same token, the Cleveland Cavaliers don't even have anyone who can stop James Harden. And therein lies the discussion. We're not even talking about the other players that the Houston Rockets have. But guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. It's your boy. I'm Chris the Don One, and I am Alshaw.